Of course, like right when I start, he has to get talky. Real quick before we start, we are recording and this is going to be posted on the YouTube page. I do have a family thing that I'm trying to deal with right now. So if I get a call, I'm going to have to jump off, and then Dorothy and Heather will go ahead and take over. But thank you all. This is the annual, what we're going to be doing annually is the board and committee meeting. And the intent of this is to not only refresh you on public records law, sunshine law, stuff like that, but also make you aware of what each and every board and committee is working on, just so that nobody's working against each other. Maybe there's some projects that you can help each other out with. So again, we're gonna be doing this on an annual basis. And then as far as liaisons, I know that Molly Rose has now been elected to a position. My son chiming in. So we'll figure out who your liaisons are at the next town council meeting. But what we would like to do is get started with Heather Ramos, who's the counsel for town council, legal counsel. She'll go over the sunshine law and some, all right, I'll get you milk, buddy. And then Dorothy will have some input relative to emails and agendas. And then I'll go through each committee and see what projects you're working on, if you need help recruiting membership, so on and so forth. So with that said, I'll turn over to Heather and I'll get Brady some milk because he's giving me googly eyes.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to give you Government in the Sunshine Law, Public Records, and Ethics 101 in about 20-25 minutes. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask and stop me. We're going to go over 3 topics. Sunshine law is the law that governs your meetings, holding everything in the public. Your public records law is the law that governs your records. And ethics, gifts, and financial disclosure also applies to most of the town employees and committees and the town council members. So sunshine law is basically the way for people in the audience to know how the council gets, or a board or committee gets, from point A to point B. So anytime anything happens, everyone in the public should know how you got there. The sunshine law is applicable, of course, to the town council. It's also applicable to advisory boards and committees when the advisory boards of the committees are delegated decision-making authority as opposed to mere information gathering or fact-finding authority. So the requirements of the sunshine law, there's 3 basic requirements. Your meetings have to be open and accessible to the public. The meeting must be noticed, and written minutes must be taken of each meeting. So the important things to remember here is if 2 or more members of the same council or the same committee need to discuss town-related business, a meeting must be officially noticed. Don't call, text, or email each other on town-related business. All discussions must be in an open, noticed meeting. You can't have a person act as a go-between. So the mayor couldn't call the town manager. He couldn't call Robert and say, hey, Robert, I would like you to tell the rest of the council members to vote like this on something, because Robert would be officially hosting a meeting between the mayor and the different council members. Whispering and passing notes at a notice meeting could be considered an unlawful meeting if you're discussing town business. Once a meeting's adjourned, don't talk about town business on your way out of the door, or don't talk about town business before your meeting starts. Members of the public must be provided an opportunity to address the council or committee during the decision-making process and before a decision is made, which is why we always have public comment on your agendas.
Hey, Heather.
Yes.
I don't know if it's just me or not, but I'm still on the first slide.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's make sure it's in a PDF format so you can flip through.
I'm sorry, you guys.
If it's in PowerPoint, then it just stays on the first slide.
It's in PowerPoint, and I'm sorry, Robert, I told you it was in PDF and I lied. So, hold on one second here. Yeah, because it's not fun without seeing the cute little.
I know, I got a glimpse of the Sunshine Law cartoons and I couldn't see them.
All right, let me see here.
Here we go.
Can I do it this way?
It's working now, yeah. So
that's not okay. So let me.
Yeah, it's better not.
I'm sorry, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you able to see that, everyone?
Yeah, the Larry's birthday party.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, these are the council members all winking at each other and the members of the audience going, huh, what's happened here? Okay, so most of these other slides had just had words and stuff on it. So I think the important parts for the sunshine law were here, and I can email this, Robert, to anybody that would like to see it or go over it again. The important parts for the sunshine law are just 2 or more members of the same council or committee cannot talk to each other on town related business unless Robert or Dorothy notices a meeting for you. And that happens all the time too, where you want to have, 3 council members talk about something. Well, maybe not all the time, but it happens where they can sit down in town hall and discuss town business. All right, so does anyone have any questions about the sunshine law?
They're being shy.
Okay, then we'll go to the public records law. And again, public records law, just that covers all the records of the town.
Question about the sunshine law.
Yes, sir.
Does the agenda have to include everything, or can someone raise an agenda item during the meeting?
So it doesn't, Stephen, is that you?
Yes, sorry.
It doesn't have to include everything. However, depending on the subject and depending on the action, if there's going to be action taken on an item, it's definitely the best practice to have it on an agenda. So if you're going to take action on something, my recommendation would be never to bring something up where your committee is going to vote to make a recommendation to the town council unless it's actually on the agenda. But that's a decision of your committee to make at that moment.
Heather, another question that I always get, what about subcommittee meetings? Like with Parks and Rec, they'll have Pet Fest. With, DVC, they used to have like the art show, all these little various subcommittees. Do those need to be noticed and have an agenda as well?
So if those are meetings of staff, Robert, then they are not. If it depends on the makeup of the board. Hold on, let me get back to that one slide.
They're usually like 1 or 2
here
subcommittee members. So
from the same committee.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. If it's members of the same committee, then they definitely should be noticed meetings. Your minutes and the agenda can be very minimal. I mean, it can be a 1 line. Minutes can just be such and such and such met to discuss this. So they don't need to be that detailed, but yes, I would definitely recommend it. If it's members of staff that are meeting to do something, to talk about a public works project, then those do not need to be noticed meetings.
Thanks, Heather. And
All right.
as far as agendas, I think Dorothy wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of an internal policy that we want to make sure that we get agendas posted 10 days prior to the meeting dates. Again, they could be generic items relative to the items to be discussed. But again, we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to not only get the agendas out there, but also give the residents a heads up of what's going on.
Yes.
Maybe after this meeting, Robert, we put together, like if there's a few bullet points or something to send out to all your committee and your council members to talk about things like that. Like if you have something you want to put on the agenda, please let us know 10 days in advance, that kind of thing. Just as a good reminder.
Right. Nor there is a dial-in, I believe it's on the Facebook or the town website. Or on the agenda cover, I believe it has the dial-in numbers. All right. Thanks, Heather.
Okay, so we will turn then to your records, public records. The public records law in Florida is extremely broad, just like the sunshine law, and it is applicable to the records of town employees, town council, your advisory boards, your committees, when it deals with town business. So important things to know about the public records law is that every record made or received in connection with town business is a public record. All elected and appointed officials and town employees must permit inspection and copying of public records. They are not limited to traditional written documents, so it includes texts, emails made or received in connection with official business, includes YouTube videos, Facebook posts, tapes, photographs, videos, and sound recordings.
Can I say something right here?
Absolutely.
If anyone should receive a public records request, it needs to come through me first. So if you receive it, you send it to me first before anything gets done.
And then, thank you, Dorothy. Public records, one thing to really keep in mind there, public records can only be destroyed in accordance with a specific process under state law. So if you have the only copy of the public record, you need to send that to Dorothy or Town Hall because you cannot destroy that. Public records must be retained for a certain period of time. It depends on what the record is to determine how long it needs to be retained. The law applies to communication with residents, members of the public, employees, consultants, contractors, legal counsel, and others involving town business. Even if that record is on your private computer, that email is on your laptop or your phone, it doesn't matter. It's the nature of the record, not the location of the record. Purely personal emails are not public records, but there is no expectation of privacy for communications that you would have on a town-owned computer or phone. All right, some other things. Public records include metadata. There is no unfinished business exemption. A lot of folks think that drafts and notes can be public records. Once they're circulated or provided to someone else, even if you mark them draft, they're a public record. A public records request may be verbal, written, emailed by any person at any time for any or no reason. And you can't require the person requesting the public record to provide his or her name, and he or she does not have to say why the records are requested. And if you receive a public record request, Dorothy already hit on this, let the town clerk know immediately. So here's an example of something that happened in 2012. There was the mayor, this was called the Orange County Text Gate. The Orange County mayor and the commissioners were sitting on the dais and receiving texts from members of the public and lobbyists and citizens opposed to a referendum for paid sick time. There were members of the press sitting in the audience and they saw these emails going back and forth. Sorry, guys, you're gonna see all my emails come up now. There was a public records request made for the texts, and the mayor and commissioners lost or deleted those texts. So the state attorney, they did fine all of them, the commissioners and the mayor, but they concluded that everything was deleted unintentionally. So there were no further charges brought. There are statutory exemptions for public records, but the best thing to keep in mind is the entire record is a public record, unless there's an express statutory exemption. So the exemption must be explicitly provided by statute. They must be narrowly applied, and all exemptions must be provided to the requester in writing as to what the exemption is. Things like social security numbers, bank accounts, those kind of things are not public records. Here's a few examples, sealed bids and proposals for a certain period of time, information relating to the town security system plans, building plans and drawings depicting the internal layout of your buildings. There's several more, but those are just a few things to keep in mind. All right, anybody have any questions on public record law?
So as a contractor, I call the building department to request public records. That's what I've done in the past. Do I need to now call Dorothy to request that record?
No, I mean, unless Dorothy wants you to do it a different way, that's fine. Because really you're working with the town on something, so you're not really doing a public records request.
Well,
right?
it's a public records. I'm calling on behalf of a homeowner I'm working for to request the drawings of a house that they purchased that was built prior to the purchase of the house. which is legitimately a public records request. And Dorothy just said all public records requests should come through her. But yet I'm actually circumventing that process if I go directly to the building department. Well, our third party
It's your
contractor.
business, correct? It's your business?
It's my bit. Yeah, it's not for
Okay,
me
that's your
personally.
personal business and somebody's asking you to find that permit. If you weren't living in the town in that house, even though you live in the town, if somebody in Orange County requested you do those permits, would you call the clerk and the records department and request that permit, or would you just call on your own?
Well, typically in Orange County, I go to the building department, but it redirects you to records, and then you make
Okay,
it's an email you send to public records request, I think, or something like that. I can't at Orange, see whatever Orange County something or other. But
yes.
so in this case, I was talking with Damaris. Actually, Damaris was out the last time I did this, and talked to whoever was there and requested building plans for, a house on Oakdale Street. And they emailed them to me. So it wasn't a big deal. I just want to know if from now on, all public records requests should go through the town. If someone else is looking for is that something we should let our third party contractors know? Or can we continue to do business as we are?
Dorothy, that's your preference.
I believe if you're just doing it for your own, your own business,
Yeah,
pulling a record, that's on you. But if it's somebody's requesting that record, that's something different on the behalf of the town. Because
right, okay.
if we, like back before, we had zoning, we signed off on zoning, the county did the actual permitting inspections. We don't have those records. The county would have that record. So I can be circumvented and go to the county, but after that is when we started taking over and having in-house permitting inspections. So I do
Right,
get a lot of requests. for
Which
people
again,
that-
I've gone straight to whatever they are.
PDCS.
Yeah, I've gone straight to them and requested plans, and they send them to me. So anyway,
Okay,
but it's always for my business, of course. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
we
that's
didn't need to have
for your
everything
personal
run through the
business.
town.
to me,
Just
that's
bring
for
it-
your personal business. That's not through the town business. If it was town business, that would be one thing. But if it was like for a town
I got you.
project,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so the important reason, namely the reason you want to make sure you follow the Sunshine and Public Records laws are if you violate those laws, the state attorney or grand jury can be involved, private parties can sue, penalties for the violation of either jail time, 60 days for a knowing violation, a $500 fine for an unintentional violation, of course, attorney's fees that you would need to cover, trials, and then the nasty press coverage that comes along with that. Okay, so that is public records law in a nutshell. Anybody have any questions? All right, now we'll turn to ethics. And the basic principles of ethics in Florida are to promote the public interest, maintain the respect of the people for their government, ensure that public officials conduct themselves independently and impartially, not using their offices for private gain other than compensation provided by law. And there's two different types of provisions covered by the ethics laws. Those prohibiting certain actions or conduct, and those requiring that certain disclosures be made to the public. Ethics laws apply to the town council members, committee members, advisory board members, and the executives, so-called executive staff for the town employees. So what we're going to go over is just a very brief summary. The ethics law is complicated. If you take the 4-hour course as an elected official, you will get a lot more in depth there, but this is going to give you enough to think that you need to ask Robert another question about it or ask me a question. If you come up with a scenario that might apply to you. So what to remember, do not use your position at the town or to secure anything special for yourself, your family, friends, or anyone else. Caution areas for the ethics: don't do business with the town. That's you or your family. There shouldn't be any secondary employment that you have that conflicts with your town position. And don't use information which you've learned from your town position to gain a special advantage for you or your family or anyone else. Oops. All right, we might have just taken that one out of order. All right, general rule about voting. You must vote on all council items or board or committee items unless you have a conflict of interest or there appears to be a possible conflict of interest. So abstentions are not allowed. So if you were just placed on a committee or you were just elected to the town council, just because you don't know the background on something does not allow you to abstain from voting. You have to vote unless you have a conflict of interest or a possible conflict of interest.
Mhm.
I think I moved those slides around by accident there. So a couple more things on the ethics that you need to be careful of. You cannot accept a payment to speak or write for an organization. Reasonable expenses can be paid, and you cannot hire, promote, or advocate for your relatives to get a job with the town. All right, back to voting conflicts. You must disclose on any issue, and this applies to committees as well. If the council's vote would benefit or hurt you, your relative, your business partner, your employer, your client or customer, the parent company, subsidiary company, or sister company of your employer or your client. And this is a really good reason to be familiar with your agenda before you go into a meeting so that you can bring something to Robert's attention, or you can ask me if you think you might have a possible or potential conflict of interest. So to summarize, for voting conflicts, if you have an actual conflict, you do not vote. You must file Form 8B. That's with Dorothy within 15 days after the vote. If Dorothy doesn't have a Form 8B with her, she will get one to you quickly. You may participate in the discussion if you have a conflict, if you first disclose it, but we always tell someone, why would you participate? Because it looks bad. So you must abstain if you have an actual conflict, and you may abstain if you have the appearance of a conflict, but for either reason, you file Form 8B. There is a state law for elected officials. So after you're out of office, it's called the no revolving door rule. You may not lobby your town council for compensation for a client for 2 years after leaving office. All right, does anyone have any questions on the ethics rules or voting rules? All right, we're going to turn to gifts.
Yes, I have a question on the ethics,
Yes, sir.
and I didn't quite catch it. You mentioned you can't take compensation for, what was that about? I didn't quite.
Honoraria for speaking?
Yeah.
Correct.
What about for doing drawings for a newspaper?
For drawings for a newspaper for something for the town?
Nope, not for the town. But I did have one published in a Winter Garden newspaper about our boathouses. They
And you
saw
took
it.
compensation for that, Stephen?
Yes, but it was nothing controversial.
But you shouldn't be going forward. Yes, going forward, you shouldn't be, because
Okay.
you want to be very careful because what can happen is then you have a potential conflict of interest if something comes before your board for the newspaper or an employee of the newspaper where you've received compensation. That's the whole purpose of that rule.
Got it. Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you. They saw me drawing in the back of the council meeting and asked.
Well, you have good drawings, that's for sure. I agree with that.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, so gift law. Gifts mean so many things now, really. Forgiveness of a debt, money, real estate, admission tickets, plants and flowers, food, membership dues, they're all gifts. So taking, the two things to keep in mind, taking anything of value for you or your family over $100 can be an ethics violation. We'll get into a little bit more details in a moment. And don't ask for gifts. Don't ask anyone working with or associated with town business for anything. Don't ask John Fitzgibbon for, a bottle of wine. Don't ask me for something. I mean, you have to be very, very careful with doing that. Because of course we would get it for you, but I'm just kidding. So there's two ways that gifts are disclosed. Disclosures are made by you as a council member or a committee member. Any gift which is accepted and worth over $100, the exceptions for that is gifts from relatives or prohibited gifts. So if you take a gift which is against the law, you do not have to disclose yourself. And actually the form truly says this. It's a very strange law, but you don't have to give yourself up for that. All right, then the other way that gifts are disclosed are by the lobbyists and vendors. And examples of lobbyists and vendors are folks that are under contract with the town, like us, like Ray Robinson. So if we were to purchase a gift for an individual council member that is worth over $25, we would have to disclose that gift quarterly on a form filed with the Commission on Ethics. And that's not disclosed by you, but really you're supposed to, if a lobbyist buys a gift for a council member or a committee member, they're supposed to tell you in advance the amount of the gift and that it's worth over $25, so that your name will be on a form. So you will know that because that's a public record. And if it's over $100, that's a prohibited gift. All right, so penalties for violating the ethics code, which are the things that we went over with respect to voting and gifts and nepotism, those types of things, are impeachment, removal from office or employment, suspension, public censure, reprimand, reduction in salary level. I know all the council members and the committee members get paid a lot. Forfeiture of 1/3 of salary per month, and a civil penalty of up to $10,000. So the elected officials and certain committee members have to file financial disclosure forms each year. Form 1 contains your assets and liabilities, and Form 1F is the financial disclosure statement filed in your last year of office. And both are filed with the supervisor of elections in Orange County. And there are penalties if you fail to file by August 1st, you'll receive a delinquency notice. By September 1st, $25 per day fine with a maximum fine of $1,500. And the ethics office, the supervisor of elections office do fine if you don't turn in your forms on time. So the supervisor of elections must send those forms to the people that need to fill them out each year, no later than June 1st. Does anyone have any questions on the ethics that we just went over? Or gifts? One thing I find very helpful is the Florida Commission on Ethics. And this is another reason why it's very helpful to take a look at your agenda, a little bit in advance. You can call this it's an 800 number up in Tallahassee. You can call them and ask questions if you have them on ethics, voting, gifts, that kind of thing, financial disclosure. And the folks there will get back to you if they don't know the answer immediately within a few hours. And they do not police, which means that if you were to ask them, if you were to say, I did such and such, they cannot come after you. So it's a very helpful tool to have if you don't want to bring up a question with Robert or with me, or Dorothy knows most of this stuff too, if not all of it. One thing too to keep in mind, annual training for the elected council members have to be in this area in ethics, public records, and open meetings, a total of 4 hours per calendar year. And Robert, if you might know of a better place, but the best place typically to find This is on the, now it's blanking me, the Commission on Ethics website.
Yeah, they have Commission on Ethics and also the Florida League of Cities.
Yes,
They,
the Florida League of
post,
Cities.
they post the videos and they show 4 hours. So those are the two that I typically attend.
So
Okay, does
Heather,
anyone-
that's just, that last slide was just for elected officials, correct? Not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Well, actually, DRB
No,
needs
the
to.
Development Review Board has to do it as well.
We do it, yeah.
Commissioners of CRA, yes, this is the actual statute language here. Constitutional officers, commissioners of the CRA, yeah, so the Development Review Board. Just similar to that.
And Frank, to go back to your question, typically, yes, you should be contacting me for those records. For that permit.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is that any other contractor might try to do the same thing. So you might want to let the third-party contractor that handles our building plans know that people need to come through the town.
I will
That's-
do that. I have
That was
talked
the
with the
reason
mayors
for my
before.
question. So
Okay,
it wasn't
I will-
my personal side of it. It was more for the town to know what's happening right now. So if that's an issue or not. So,
yeah, I will call Damaris tomorrow.
okay.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I just have a few things that I wanted to hit on. If you're on a committee or board elected official, you have an email address, that email that is given to you. We are going to not use any more personal emails from now on due to records management and tracking and retrieval. We will now only use town issued email addresses. So I know there's a few of you that have duplicates that get sent the town and your personal. We will no longer be using personal emails. Text messaging are the same way. Absolutely no text messaging. I believe Robert is going to be working on a new policy about that, but no town business should be going through text messages. And for the ones that transcribe the minutes, there are two types of minutes, which are action minutes, which are just the motions and votes. And the other one is a synopsis, is which we do. So you have those two types that you can use. And we are going to posting of the agenda 10 days prior to a meeting. The actual guts and backup to the meeting can take place a little bit later, but know that if there's any changes after that, the agenda then has to be amended, and there's steps that has to take place for. And we've been having to do that lately. So that's why we're going to go to a 10-day deadline for the agendas.
And one more thing, if I can add to Dorothy about the text messages and that type of stuff. Or if you get an email to your personal email account, if you go ahead and just forward that to Dorothy, or take a screenshot of your text messages and send that to Dorothy or even Diane, and you can get that off your phone, you can get it off your personal computer, and then you're allowed to delete it. So, maybe we talk about this a little bit more in depth at some point, but once you get that copy over to the town, you can go ahead and take it off your phone or your computer.
But if they have it on their personal device, they can send it to their town email as well. That
Perfect,
way
yes.
it will stay there and it will back up. So if we ever have any issue, we can go through IT to retrieve.
I agree. That's great.
The issues that we have are auto archiving, and we typically use iVenture, who is our IT company. So what they do is they pretty much, whatever the public record request is, let's say it's on Fernwood Park, they're able to extract all of the emails that are relative to Fernwood Park, depending upon who, which committee or which board actually we're making decisions based upon that. Sorry, my son's running around now. But yeah, no, this is just not text messages, but be careful what you say on Facebook, because again, you can have a technical meeting on Facebook. I'm not sure if Heather covered that, because if two members get on there during the chat or during the comment section, then it could be considered a meeting. There's Snapchat, there's WhatsApp, there's all sorts of different apps. So it's just not texting, it's all those different types of communication they have to be very careful of.
Correct. Absolutely, Robert. Yeah, and I only barely touched on that, but yeah, if two members of the same board or same committee are talking, regardless of how you're talking, if you're talking in the grocery store, if you're talking in town hall, if you're talking by Facebook or chat, whatever, if you're talking about town business, that is a meeting.
Mhm.
All right. Now we'll get to the really fun stuff, making sure that everybody's aware of all the projects that everybody's working on. Just so you guys know, we do a projects meeting each month. We actually had it this morning, and that's with town staff. We have Kimley Horn Associates, we have John Fitzgibbon, Public Works Director, and then a few others that are included in that meeting. But we go through each and every project that we have ongoing, and we make sure that we post those meeting minutes with the town council agendas. But I wanted to take this opportunity to go through each and every respective board to let us know what you're working on. So maybe we can help you out, or if another board or committee may be working on that as well. We just want to make sure that everybody was on the same page. So with that said, we'll start with the Historical Preservation Board. Kim? You got to unmute, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Head. I'm the new chair for the Historic Board. And what we're working on currently is just kind of regrouping. We focus in the past on the buildings of the town, and I want to broaden that to do more reach to like historic, just talk about historic houses and do maps of historic places in Windermere, and more community involved than it has been in the past. So this Wednesday is just kind of my first meeting as chair and kind of feel out our group and what other people have ideas for the historic preservation of Windermere. Thank you. That's it. So now to Park and Rec. Nora?
That's what I was going to do. I think Robert stepped out. The next is Parks and Rec. Nora?
That's a great transition though, Kimberly. Well done.
Oh, it's very good.
Sorry, I'm back now.
I can't hear Nora.
Yeah, she's trying to call through the phone, so she's not gonna be able to do that.
Can she unmute herself?
No, she's having trouble
Okay.
with her audio. Doug's there though. Doug
Yeah.
can probably comment on what Parks and
There's
Recreation is
Nora.
working on.
Nora, did you get fixed there? So I really just had 4, Robert, from our last minute. So just conducting budgetary research coming up for the next fiscal year, kind of the vision for our parks, and we recently did a all parks walkthrough and took suggestions. Second would be improvements for WRC, improvements in the park. Just again, trying to beautify the park and improve resident enjoyment of the rec center area. Another one that we just initiated, working with the University of Florida professor, one of Tanya's contacts, to do an encompassing park survey. The committee members collaborated with roughly 25 to 30 questions, but with the University of Florida, they'll add a sense of professionalism for a larger park survey. And then finally, also sort of girding ourselves for the commercial activity ordinance, which is under discussion in terms of how residents will respond and our perceptions of commercial activities in the parks, and how we could support that and make it clear to our residents as much as we can.
Okay, perfect. Do you have anything else from Parks and Rec, Nora? It looks like you would so desperately want to talk, I can see. But we can't hear you. Okay. So we'll go ahead and go to the Windermere Tree Board.
Can we call it an elder lunch in the night since I'm preparing for tomorrow? The tree board has just recently approved from Gree Hill to do a tree survey. We got an incredible opportunity on that, and it will be helpful not only to tree board but to public works, and be helpful within the town. We also have been working on the 500 block and keeping just informed on that and being aware of what's going on. We just completed planting in Palmer Park and are looking for our next park to work on as a project. Let's see, I think I had one other thing, which I can't remember right now.
Susan, did you include Green Hill?
Gree Hill,
Yes.
yes. I said Gree Hill was our, we
Tree
just
survey.
approved that they would come in and do a survey. It's an excellent encompassing survey that will, all encompassing for, I think, for many departments, that will help us know where to plant in the future, give us a healthier perspective on where we need to focus, pruning, where we need to focus fertilizing, where we need to focus, planting for the future. So it is something that has been a long time coming, and it'll help us be more organized and structured in the future.
Perfect.
I believe that I had one other thing, but for the life of me. iNaturalist. So we've got the iNaturalist coming up at the end of the month, where we are going to work to determine just to help add to the Orange County and our own Town of Windermere documentation of plants, trees, animals, whatever we see that would be involved in that.
And what did you call that again?
iNaturalist. It is the
iNaturalist, okay.
challenge. It is the city. Let's see.
Got it.
Yeah, it's Central Florida, so it's you take pictures of plants and bugs and all sorts of creatures, and they'll identify it for you. And then also, a tree board is working on reviewing the plans for the 500 block. So we're not going to be. Oh, sorry, said that. My bad. We're potty training Brady, and he's decided to get up and walk towards it, so I had to run over there real quick.
I got you covered.
Thank you. I'll also be quiet from here on out.
I think that's it. I'm knee deep in elder luncheon for tomorrow, so I'm like, so that's what we've got going at this point. So
Perfect. Long range planning.
That'd be me.
That's you.
Yes. So our committee over the last 4 or 5 years has really been a support mechanism for the town council, both looking at long range master planning and long range projects, and actually being there as a support and recommending body for a lot of these major grants that we've been working on. We have been heavily involved in a lot of the stormwater improvement projects through FDEM grant funding that we've gotten through West 2nd Avenues, Butler Street, and Bessie improvements. Obviously worked with the town through the process of the new town facilities. Looking forward to diving into the 500 block review, since long range planning was heavily instrumental in the design guidelines of the town, and the review process through that master planning with them. Looking at street repairs, repavings, helping with them putting capital improvement plans together for long-term sustainability of our roads, pedestrian bike paths, multimodal. So really, we've been kind of bouncing things back and forth with our liaison through council, helping along the process of the master planning process, looking at long-term water, working with the town on that as well. So most of everything we've been doing is mostly, just support mechanism. I know we do have a lot of crossover with some of the other parks and rec, and then Windermere Wine and Dine with some of the funding, and help figure out prioritization on what we do with the town funding that does come in. So that's kind of us in a nutshell over the last 4 or 5 years.
We have somebody that's dialing in 321-663-4159. Could you state your name, please? I'm gonna let him too. Okay, so the next one is Development Review Board, Frank Chase.
Yeah, we just review what you all send to us, and whatever the council may need, we support the council if they request us to look into a code issue or something like that, or give some kind of, we'll bring it up at our meeting, or it'll be on our agenda, and we will review that item. And otherwise, we just do variances, handle variances, and things like that. So, and we do review plans, such as the 500 block, which
And
I
I
don't
believe,
know.
I'm sorry, and I believe
Yeah.
you guys are gonna be reviewing the 50-foot setback from the normal high water. I believe that's gonna be coming to you guys to review
Okay.
in the future.
We did, and from time to time, we will request permission to review items that tend to come to us more often than others, but basically we wait for guidance from the council prior to doing that work. So, and this is one of those cases. So,
And it will be.
right.
Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions or updates?
Did Nora want to go now?
I'm not sure. Nora?
Is she able to?
See if this is her. I don't know who 321663.
That's Nora.
Okay, let me let her in. Let's see if this will let her in. Nora, can you unmute yourself? I can't get Nora in. Oh, I can't unmute her.
Can have a whole nother meeting for Nora.
Yeah. Nora, are you there?
I'm here. She unmuted.
There she is. There she
Hear
is.
her.
Got her.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hi, Nora.
Hey, Nora.
Hello.
Do you have any further comments, or would you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, Doug got most of ours. I mean, we're doing a lot of work at Windermere Rec. And then, we have Run Among the Lakes in October and the Halloween parade in October.
Okay.
So we're just working on bringing all the parks up to be ADA compliant, all the playgrounds.
Oh, good. Okay. Anybody else? Did you hear everything about the emails and text messages, Nora?
I heard about the emails. I have a problem with the town email. But I'm happy to try it. But sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes it
Get with Diane in regards to that town email. She should be able to help you through that, and she may have to just send you over to our IT company, iVenture, and they're very good and very helpful.
I've spoken to them a couple of times.
Yeah, they're very good.
But anyway, yeah.
Just a comment.
It's fine. A lot of the committee people don't use the town emails because.
Well, due to records management and things like that, we have to go to using the town emails. If you want to take that town email and forward it to your personal email, you're more than welcome to do that. But for our end, we are only going to use town issued email addresses.
And also it's really for your protection too. I mean, I think Dorothy's alluding to that, but if you have something on your personal computer or your personal email account and a public records request is done, you've deleted it by accident and someone is aware of it, then you can be, you can face all the penalties we talked about, because like I said, it doesn't matter where the record is. It just depends on what the content of the record is.
Comment, Stephen Withers.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Stephen Withers. Nora, you mentioned the ADA. ADA doesn't have anything to do with our parks. That's the Florida Accessibility Code. Don't go researching ADA because it'll mess you all up.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go.
I disagree.
Why?
I know that for recreation, there's a whole section on ADA,
There
which
is,
includes
Yeah, we-
playground structures,
but it's
water
civil,
fountains, all that
ADA
stuff.
is
is in
civil
it.
rights legislation. And what is covered is the Florida Accessibility Code. It also has a section on playgrounds, et cetera, following the ADA guidelines, but ADA is just civil rights legislation.
So
Primarily.
Stephen, are you
this-
just making the distinction between the state law and the federal law? Is that what you're?
Absolutely.
Okay,
State
I
law
think that Frank,
governs.
that's what he meant. He's meaning that
Okay,
they're
okay.
there still has to comply with the accessibility requirements, but Stephen
Of
was
the
just pointing
state.
out there's, yes, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Kimberly, did you have something you wanted to say? No, you're good. Anybody else have anything else to say? Or questions, concerns?
Oh, I do. I don't have an email address, so how do I get that?
Okay, okay, I will see that you get that. After we get off from here, or if you want to go ahead and, I don't have your contact number, I don't believe. Well, you had to sign, you filled out an app, right, to be on the committee?
Mhm,
So
I
your
can put it
information's
right
on that.
here.
That's okay. I'll go back to that app and get your contact information and we'll get you an email set up.
All
Most
right.
definitely. Anybody else that might need one that doesn't, I know all of DRB has it. Your Parks and Rec, if you guys want to check with your committee members and make sure that they have an email account and it's active, that's a must.
I think, I think everybody has one.
Okay, well, just verify,
Oh,
just to
we
make
may
sure
have
that
to help.
everybody does. And pass along to
Yeah,
them
yeah,
the importance of using strictly town emails. There's no
Can we-
texting back and forth with town information or
Can I
anything.
ask that the town let all the committee members know this, as opposed to me letting the committee members know this? Like Diane-
I know it's been in an email to the DRB about very soon it's going to be strictly town emails only. So
Okay,
in our DRB meeting that's coming up, we will definitely address it there as well. But each
Okay.
chair that is here, I don't attend those meetings, so I can if you need me to emphasize the fact that that's what's going to be used. And if you do not use that email, you're going to miss your information. And that won't be on us, that'll be on you or whoever the person is that's to receive that email. I cannot stress that enough between that and text messaging.
Dorothy, I had a question on the sunshine laws because I'm afraid I could only hear about 1 out of every 10 words of that.
Okay.
So once we have voted on something, then it's fine for committee members to talk about what, once we've voted to spend $20,000 on a piece of playground equipment, it's fine for us after we voted on it to discuss what color we want or exactly where it's going to be. So we can discuss these things after we voted, correct?
You're talking about discussing those items in a noticed meeting?
No, because we have to go meet with vendors and public works out at the site, to decide exactly where something's going to be. There may be a couple committee members. And we also, we do these really big events, which take months and months of planning.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. So like 2 of you might go, even like this would be for the tree board, might go and look at the trees that might be needed or ordered for the tribute. So you're going to have you and someone else that's going to go to the recreation supply house and pick out whatever colors of the equipment and this, that, and the other thing. Does that constitute as a public meeting? Is that your question?
Yeah,
Right.
it's going to depend on which stage you're in, but yes, really that does. And you really shouldn't be discussing the town related business with another committee member that sits on the same committee as you, unless it's in a noticed meeting. If you need
But
to
we've
do,
already
already
voted
taken
to
the action?
authorize.
okay,
Yes, we've
then
already
then
voted.
really, my suggestion would be then your discussion when before you're taking the action would be to include the fact that you're going to go with such and such and go here and pick out the trees. You should have a discussion about that in the public first
Right.
and
how
bring
about
everyone's
events? I
attention
mean,
to that. That would be the best practice.
you know, we do these big events, and you can't have public meetings all the time when you're making decisions about these events. I mean, we have to decide where we're going to run advertising, which advertising we're going to run, what color the t-shirts are going to be. I mean, there's a million decisions that have to be made.
Sure, and
So, I mean,
decisions
once
that are
we-
made about your town business, they really should all be made at a noticed public meeting. But if you're meeting with members of staff on an item, that's okay. That's not a public meeting. But if you're meeting with another committee member, then Dorothy should be noticing meetings for you. And you'll find really that no one's going to come to those meetings if you're having a meeting at noon with two of you at town hall on a Thursday to discuss that. But really, all of those items should be discussed in the public.
Yes.
I mean, I don't understand how that can work when you do these kinds of events. I mean, they take
Okay,
up
well,
an
I
enormous
think-
amount of time to begin with. So
Okay, I think maybe what can help, Nora, is that when you guys have an agenda, you put on there, let's just say it's the, you do the 5K run, right? You
Yeah.
would put on the agenda 5K run, and then you would just sub index everything on there. T-shirts, medals, sponsors, just all that. Then that way it will cover all those items that you're going to discuss on that agenda. Then once you make that vote, then you can go do what you need to do. But with her question from this point forward, I believe, Heather, is if now two of these board members go to the supplier to pick out whatever shirt that it is that they approved, how do they come up with that? Because now two people from the same board are in the same location discussing.
So you've already
shirt.
taken the action on the item. If you've
Right.
taken the action on the item and now you're carrying out the action, that's okay. But
So
don't go and then decide to go pick out some type of something or decide to pick out the t-shirts and forget to vote on that or talk about that in the public meeting. Or the better practice would be just one of you go and do that.
Did that clarify some
Well,
for
we
you, Nora?
We'll try. We'll try.
Well, I know you sound like you have some hesitation, and that's okay. So anytime that you have a question, just let me know. And if I don't know the answer, I will definitely reach out to Heather to get the answer for you. But just, I think if I can explain it to you in a different manner, maybe face-to-face, or that might help as well. But if we just put it on a agenda and have it as a discussion item, and then whatever's voted on, then you can go do that. So, but you should know, you should pretty much know when your event's coming up, what everything is that you're going to do. And I can't say, I haven't been involved with you with any of them. So I can actually say, oh, I see what you're talking about when this comes up or that comes up. So, and there are, I'm sure, last minute things that do come up.
Yeah, there's a lot that has to get done for those kinds of things.
Right. And there's always the special meeting situation that you can do, that you can call and lay it all out on an agenda and have a special called meeting and wrap through it. Unfortunately, this is the process for government, and we have to follow that. it can be difficult, but I'm thinking when we can get together and work out something that'll work good for you.
All righty.
Question,
Yes, Mr.
Heather.
Withers.
Does the
Yes, sir.
state legislature and the governor have to follow all these rules they made?
They do have some different rules that they get to follow.
I thought so.
Of course.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Well, thank you very much. If anybody has any questions about public records, your emails, agendas, minutes, timing, posting, any of that, we're here, reach out. Like I said, let all your members know that I think we were going to start with May 1st will be the deadline for any emails going out will be strictly town emails that has anything to do with town business. And if you get text messages that has anything to do with town, it gets sent to your town email address. You forward it to your town email address. That way we will always have the record. Yes, Frank, I see you got to say something.
No, I'm not. I'm just ready to go get dinner.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think we've covered everything that was on the agenda. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and we will adjourn at 7:01.
All
Take
right.
care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.